Have you ever wanted to own your own tavern in a medieval setting? I can't say I've always dreamed of it either, but today, I'll be building and managing my tavern in the simulation game Tavern Master. Without a long introduction, let's jump straight into mastering the art of brewing beer and ale. But before we start, don't forget to subscribe to the channel so you don't miss exciting playthroughs and challenges from various games. At the beginning, I chose the normal version of the tavern because I didn't want to freeze in the winter. Then, I was given a choice of difficulty, and of course, I chose medium. The first steps in the game involved a tutorial. I completed the wall, which was somehow missing, and added a door and a window to my tavern. The next step was to put a table and 2 benches to it, and of course, add some light. The most important thing was the beer keg. Without it, the tavern would be pointless. Naturally, I needed staff, specifically a bartender and a waitress whom I hired and would need to pay wages. The game also featured something like a technology and research tree, with progress depending on the number of visitors. The first visitors began to arrive, and of course the first coins came in as well. One of the tasks was to rename the tavern. I chose an original name that references a popular game. If you know where else such a tavern exists, let me know in the comments. Also added a few more tables and benches to complete other tasks. My waitress leveled up, which allowed me to improve her stats, but naturally her salary increased too. Built a fire extinguisher to complete a quest and, of course, to prepare for any fires. Then I decided to move a table where visitors were seated, but they didn't like it and left the tavern angrily. Research was completed, unlocking the kitchen and earning me a bonus of 800 coins. However, I decided to spend the money not on the kitchen, but on expanding the main hall for visitors, as I needed to place 2 more tables and 4 benches to complete a task. The second day ended and I reviewed the income and expense statistics. Excluding the bonus and construction costs, I earned very little that day. Wanted to lay down a carpet, but accidentally chose the wrong one. When I decided to sell it, I discovered that items sell for less than their purchase price, even if they haven't been used. With limited funds, I began building a new room for the future kitchen. After some time, I built a counter, but without the other items needed for the kitchen to function, the counter was useless. Unlocked a new type of flooring thanks to task points. Another day ended, but there wasn't much to brag about. Since I had no work left after closing time, I just started the next day. Another completed research unlocked the ability to build a musician's podium, but I needed to deal with the kitchen first. Finally, I saved up enough money to install a plate shelf and a crate in the kitchen. Then I hired a chef to start cooking meals. Noticed that the beer keg was almost empty, so I had to spend the remaining money to refill the stock. Expanded the walls of the main hall and built the musician's podium. I hired a musician who would cost me 50 coins per day, though I wasn't sure if I needed them yet. Received a beautiful painting as a reward and hung it for free near the bar counter. There were more and more visitors, and the waitress couldn't handle everything alone because a waiting bar began to appear over customers' heads. Another day ended, and this time the profit was much greater thanks to the kitchen and the chef's excellent food. The next day, a bard arrived. I placed a lemonade keg in the bar. One of the tasks required me to sell only desserts for an entire day, but I decided to attempt it tomorrow. Not seeing much point in having a musician for now, I canceled their services, instructed the chef to prepare only desserts to work on completing a specific mission. Next, I added some decorations to the tavern to improve its appearance and fulfill a quest, finished a research project, and unlocked the ability to plan daily events. For now, I could only afford to schedule a simple party for the next day. Expanded the main hall slightly and decided to change the wall and floor designs, as I didn't particularly like the current ones. The next day, the party began and 20 rare guests arrived. In theory, they would bring in more money by the end of the day. Added more tables for visitors and unlocked a new recipe for the menu. My waitress started threatening to quit because of her bad mood, so I had to increase her salary by 1 coin. The income for the day after the party was slightly higher than on a regular day. Added 2 carpets to complete a task and increase the tavern's prestige. The food supplies began to run low, so I had to buy more to keep the chef cooking. 2 more carpets were added for another task. As more and more clients arrived, I had to hire a new waitress. Unlocked a new dessert recipe for the menu. The next goal was to save 1,000 coins for the adventurer's table. I set up a counter for takeaway food, but no one approached it. Perhaps this was because there wasn't a path leading to the counter, but I didn't know how to build one. The game then transitioned into a repetitive cycle of living out each day, completing dull tasks, and earning money only to spend it on completing those same tasks. The day ended with a significant loss because a lot of money went into upgrading the tavern, but the revenue from visitors was still decent. Decided to sell the food counter and figure out how it works later. The day was uneventful. I barely did anything. When I started a new day, something happened. A thief stole my water keg. Now I can hire a guard, but their salary is 100 coins, so I decided to hold off for now. Installed a fireplace grill in the kitchen so the chef could prepare grilled dishes. For the first time, I managed to level up my dishes, allowing me to charge more for them. Sold the musician's podium to afford the adventurer's table. The next day, I was able to hire knights who come to this table. They can gather food items I can't buy, like cheese or mushrooms. In return, I pay them and wait several days for their return. My chef started feeling down, so I had to raise his salary. Added a wine barrel to the bar counter. Decided to hire a guard after all, so the exclamation mark in the bottom left corner wouldn't keep bothering me. Sent another expedition to collect cheese. Spent all my money on stocking up ingredients for the chef. The next day, another thief arrived, but this time my guard was waiting for him. The game has an interesting feature where you can play as a customer. I could experience my tavern from a first-person perspective, sitting at a table. Unfortunately, I couldn't order anything for myself. Added some decorations to increase the tavern's prestige. After completing another task, I received an elite waitress as a reward. She had max-level stats, but of course, her salary was equally impressive. Decided to further increase the tavern's prestige by replacing one of the tables with a fancier one. However, this was probably unnecessary as the money could have been spent on something more useful. At the end of one of the days, I earned over 1,000 coins, a solid result. Placed a few more tables along one of the walls, added additional decorations to reach 1,500 prestige, which allowed me to schedule a new, more extravagant event. Added an ale barrel to the bar counter and increased the price of every drink by 1 coin. The day's earnings were quite good, but the expenses were just as surprising. At the start of a new day, another thief visited my tavern, decided to expand a bit, and created a special hall for VIP guests. In this mini hall, I placed a large table that seats up to 8 visitors and added elegant lighting to enhance the ambiance. By the end of the day, I earned a solid profit, my largest so far. Stocked up on a massive amount of supplies, also added a pricey and stylish decoration, a stand with knight armor. The next day, I placed another armor stand. With enough tavern prestige accumulated, I scheduled a new event, received a new painting, and immediately hung it in the VIP hall. Saved up enough coins to buy a massive table for 1,500 coins. It seats 10 guests simultaneously and adds a lot of prestige to the tavern. Bought a new sword for the guard, increasing the chances of scaring off more advanced thieves. Decided to give the food counter another try. Another thief showed up, but this time I was actually glad because it helped me complete a task. This time I set up the food counter properly and customers began using it. However, my waitresses struggled to keep up, so I hired another waitress. An event started that required me to host 50 rare guests at the same time, but I didn't have enough seating. To accommodate them, I expanded the tavern further and built something resembling a veranda for outdoor dining. On the veranda, I was able to place 3 additional tables, providing 12 more seats. Began researching a new technology to allow the construction of a second floor. By the end of the day, I still couldn't gather 50 guests. Even with 4 waitresses, they couldn't keep up with the demand at the food counter. To address this, I adjusted the priorities of my elite waitress so she would focus on serving these guests first. Unexpectedly, a fire broke out in the tavern. I assigned one of the waitresses to extinguish the flames, and she handled it quickly. However, I still had to spend some coins to repair the damaged furniture. Decided to invest in more expensive candle oil to reduce the chances of future fires. Another opportunity to schedule a bigger, better event appeared, raised the drink prices a bit further. By the end of the day, I earned 888 coins. Decided to switch my research focus for now, since I currently can't attract golden tier guests to the tavern. Bought a luxurious table for 1,000 coins and unlocked a new type of flooring. Next, I spruced up the VIP room with some new decorations, experimented with drink prices, setting some of them to sky-high levels. One of the menu dishes earned a 2-star rating. I had to expand the kitchen to make room for new cooking stations. The next addition will be a chopping table. Feeling a bit tired of the old design, I decided to revamp the tavern's exterior. By the end of the day, the drink profits were lower than the previous day, so I'll need to bring the prices back to reasonable levels. An event started that required me to host 65 rare visitors. Suspecting there might not be enough seating, I began constructing a new room. This room will house 3 large tables, which I plan to upgrade later. Successfully scheduled an event to host knights, who are golden tier guests. This means I can resume researching the technology for a second floor. With the tavern's expansion, I had to hire another waitress. waitress, placed a basin and a cauldron in the kitchen, making food preparation more efficient. Knights started visiting my tavern, and the money flowed in like never before. Golden guests truly live up to their name. As a reward for completing tasks, I unlocked an elite chef. While it felt like one chef was enough, I won't turn down the upgrade. Daily profits keep growing, but so do the expenses. It's a delicate balance to manage. Finally realized why raising the prices of 3 drinks hadn't affected my revenue. It was because I didn't have those drinks. I had forgotten to install the barrels. Hired another waitress, but even with her, it didn't seem to be enough. Installed 2 more barrels, ensuring that my bar now offered every available drink. At last, I completed the research to build a second floor. Constructed a small room upstairs, but I couldn't figure out how to place the staircase at first. Later, I discovered the staircase in the general goods section of the shop. After setting up access to the second floor, I tested it by placing a table with benches. Within seconds, visitors found their way upstairs. Everything was working perfectly. To beautify the entrance to the second floor, I planned to make changes after the tavern closed for the day. However, I noticed many unhappy guests because the waitstaff couldn't serve them on time. To solve this, I immediately hired 2 more waitresses, which should resolve the issue. With some money saved up and plenty of time, I dedicated myself to organizing the second floor. After 15 minutes, I finished everything, rearranged the tables on the first floor, and even added a podium for musicians. For now, I'll leave the second floor as is, since the first floor is sufficient. A fire broke out, but I extinguished it quickly. Still, I had to pay 100 coins for repairs. Came across a funny bug. My chef decided to work on his fitness instead of cooking and started running in place. Fortunately, I fixed it by moving the ingredient crate aside, though the chef continued to stand idly afterward for some reason. By the end of the day, after serving nights, I achieved a record-breaking income. Purchased a spice shelf for the kitchen, though I'm not sure how useful it is for the chefs. Added a few more cauldrons to the kitchen because one wasn't enough for the chefs. Bought new armor for the guard. In hindsight, I should have gone for the best set right away, but I realized it too late. Decided to focus on the second floor. First, I placed a few large tables, then created an open-air seating area similar to the one on the first floor. One of the research upgrades allowed me to enhance kitchen items to level 2. I started by upgrading the chest, added curtains to the windows, and painted them red. Then I began decorating the second floor, starting with the porch. Afterward, I worked on the decor in the main hall upstairs. Upgraded the food counter to level 2. I had to hire a new chef since the current ones couldn't keep up with the demand for dishes. Thanks to the tavern's high prestige, I was able to host a new event featuring pirates. Completed the research for researchers, though I wasn't entirely sure what it added. However, it unlocked the technology to turn the tavern into a hotel. Most likely, I'll dedicate the second floor to this purpose. At the end of the night's event, I earned a whopping 6,000 coins. Finished decorating the second floor, and now it has a much more atmospheric feel. Still, something feels like it's missing. The next day began with the pirate event. After hosting 120 visitors, I earned a reward of 2,400 coins. By the end of the day, my total earnings exceeded 7,000 coins. Placed the Mona Lisa painting, which I had received as a quest reward. Since I had plenty of money, I decided to buy several luxurious large tables. With the remaining funds, I purchased expensive benches. Another fire broke out in the same spot as before. I couldn't figure out why my research wasn't progressing. Then I noticed a new tab in the hiring window. I needed to hire a researcher, but first I had to buy a desk for them. I didn't have space for it, so I had to slightly reorganize the layout on the first floor. I moved the adventurer's table a bit and placed the researcher's desk. Finally, I hired a researcher. Royal visitors, mages, started coming to the tavern. As a reward from a quest, I unlocked an elite bartender. However, I didn't have any free bars to hire them, and I didn't really need a second bar anyway. Added a few more expensive benches to the VIP room. Too many visitors were waiting too long for their orders, so I might need to hire another waitress soon. Another fire broke out, causing the visitors to scatter. Vikings arrived at the tavern, and my goal was to host 150 visitors. Finally, I completed the research for hotel technology, and I had to wait until the end of the day to begin remodeling the second floor. Unfortunately, I fell just 5 visitors short of earning the bonus reward. Initially, I wanted to place a new bar on the second floor, but couldn't figure out how until I found a suitable bar type. After a few minutes, I roughly marked out the rooms and spent quite a bit of money. I also redesigned redesigned the corridor and rooms, placed 2 beds and a chest for hotel guests, but that wasn't enough, and I didn't have enough money for the rest. Finally, I hired the elite bartender and collected 1,400 coins as a quest reward, which allowed me to add more items to the hotel rooms. By the end of the next day, I added all the necessary furnishings, and now my rooms were ready to accommodate guests, hired 2 more waitresses to speed up service on the second floor. At the end of the day, I saw visitors sleeping in my hotel, confirming that I had set everything up correctly. Added 2 more rooms with a 2-star rating. After a successful event, I earned a lot of money and decided to finish the hotel. Decorated the last large room with the most expensive bed and wardrobe to achieve a 5-star rating. Unfortunately, to even get 3 stars, I needed to place a bedside table, but I couldn't find it. Perhaps it needs to be unlocked in the tech tree, but for now, the room remains at 2 stars. I also bought another barrel for the bar on the second floor. A fire broke out on the second floor, surprisingly in an empty bedroom. Tired of these unexpected fire shows, I decided to start using the highest quality and most expensive candle oil. Wanted to expand the second floor without altering the first, so I built supports under the floor and created more space above. The result looked quite beautiful and unique. This new section of the second floor would include a second kitchen, another balcony with small tables, and a main hall with regular tables. For the first time, I faced 2 thieves simultaneously, marking the true start of medium difficulty. Added another researcher's table, though I'll probably need at least 2 more soon. At the end of the workday, I made a net profit of exactly 1 coin, a funny little outcome. Placed some luxurious 2-seater tables on the balcony and decorated the area a bit. Vikings returned, and I added several more tables to prepare for the influx of visitors. Despite my efforts, I still couldn't complete the quest to host 150 visitors, and my result was even worse this time. Built a small kitchen on the second floor because grills, spice racks, and other kitchen equipment are limited to 1 unit each for now. Finally, I finished the second floor by decorating the balcony and placing several tables in the hall. Also added a few decorative elements to the hotel rooms for a touch of elegance. Bought a decorative fireplace for the kitchen for 1,000 coins. Then I purchased a coffin with a skeleton inside. For some reason, I thought it would have some functionality, but it turned out to be just a static decoration. Of course, I also added a few rugs. Can't go without those. After the pirate event, I had a significant amount of money, so I decided to splurge on a telescope for 3,000 coins. It was probably a questionable purchase, but it fits nicely in the space. Bought yet another research table. Following another event, I collected a lot of money and decided to replace all the tables on the first floor with the most luxurious ones. The longer I play, the more repetitive the actions become, and the less new content there is. This makes it harder to create engaging commentary for videos and also reduces the overall enjoyment of the game. Still, there are a few things left to explore. Replaced all the tables and used the remaining money to buy luxurious chairs. Finally, I finished researching new items for the hotel. I immediately placed a bedside table, and the room's rating jumped to 4 stars. This allowed me to triple the cost of an overnight stay. Also, replaced the regular candles with torches on the first floor, giving the space a fresh look. Started upgrading the beds in the smaller rooms to add a few stars, but it turned out those rooms would never reach even 4 stars because they need to be twice as big. Received a new design for the walls and immediately made some changes to the exterior of the tavern. Although the rooms won't get more than 3 stars, the price of the overnight stay still increased thanks to the expensive beds. No one wanted to stay in the larger rooms, so I lowered the price to 450 coins per night. Completed a research project and unlocked the supply storage, which automatically replenishes the kitchen supplies every night. I started a new day, checked the chest, and it was already full. I could now plan an event with a royal guest, Merlin the Wizard. Realized I could decorate outside the buildable area, so I decided to make some changes to the front. It didn't turn out very well, but I plan to change it later. Placed another supply storage on the second floor in place of the telescope, and moved the telescope closer to the tables, which looks better. Started accumulating money and wasn't sure where to spend it, so I bought expensive benches for the first floor. The research for large hotel furniture was completed, and I began researching the technology to build a third floor. Placed a bathtub in the large room and then added a fireplace, and now the room has 5 stars, though I still don't fully understand the impact of that. The day with the royal guest began, and I earned 6,000 10,000 coins as a reward. Bought the best armor and weapons for the guard so he could scare off the most dangerous thieves. Also bought several luxurious benches. At the end of the day, I made a solid profit, but expenses were still higher as usual. Realized that I could change the color of the tables, so I painted the main hall black, the balcony and small room orange, and the VIP guest room white. Bought the remaining barrels of drinks for the bar on the second floor. Unlocked a new floor type, but it doesn't look particularly appealing, so I might use it later. The bread on my menu reached 5 stars, making it premium quality bread now. The research for the third floor was completed. Immediately began planning the new floor, starting with the stairs, and I was sure that this space would have a balcony with tables. Added support for the additional space, as I did with the second floor, added some greenery to the space. In the end, I had a rough layout of the floor, but I didn't build all the walls because I'm not yet sure what will be on the third floor. I might make a few more rooms for the hotel, or maybe it'll be one large hall with tables. Unlocked a new wall decoration type, which didn't look very impressive, but I might use this design at some point. Decided to decorate the space between the floor supports and the tavern with greenery, and it turned out quite cute, though it still felt a bit monotone. Then I started decorating the second space between the supports, but I ran out of money. By the end of the day, I spent all the earned money, and now the place looks livelier than before. I had enough prestige to invite the king and queen for a banquet, but I didn't have the necessary ingredients. The damn fire started again. Found the perfect spot to use the new floor, and it looks much better now. After the event with the wizard, I earned a lot of money, so it was time to focus on the third floor. First, I set up the bar counter, then I divided the space with walls, planning 3 large bedrooms and a big hall for tables. As for the balcony, I'm not sure yet what to do with it. I also changed the external and internal wall designs, added a few large and regular tables along with benches. Then I hired a bartender and a few waitresses, spent my last coins on lighting for the main hall. Unlocked a new floor type. It doesn't look particularly interesting, but it might be useful for the restrooms. Scheduled a visit from the prince, expecting a lot of profit, and then I could continue working on the third floor. Eventually, the prince arrived with his entourage, and I managed to seat all the visitors. For that, I received a reward of 10,500 coins. When the guests left, I completed 3 tasks at once and was rewarded with an elite waitress. My total profit for the day was nearly 20,000 coins. To start, I placed the 3 most expensive beds, along with the finest wardrobes and good lighting. After some time, I finished furnishing the rooms, and I managed to make all of them 5-star. Then I increased the nightly rate to 600 coins per room. Decided to add windows to all the walls on the third floor, making it stand out from the other floors, hired a new chef, and added a grill to the second kitchen. Another fire started, and of course, my workers put it out. But this time, I had to pay more than just 100 coins for repairs. I was forced to buy a whole table for 1,500 coins because the furniture had burned completely. At the end of the day, there were a lot of dissatisfied guests. After some reading, I realized they were angry about the drinks they hadn't received. So I decided to buy a few new barrels for the bar on the third floor. Started replacing tables with more luxurious ones on the second floor. Finally, I had enough food for the king and queen and was able to schedule their visit. Unlocked a new wall painting type, and I thought it was really cool. I decided to repaint all the walls in the main hall on the first floor and also added a few decorative elements. When the royal guests arrived, the queen decided to sit on the first floor while the king apparently preferred the second floor. Placed large tables on the third floor balcony. The event ended and I earned relatively little money because I wasn't able to gather 240 golden guests in one day. I just now noticed that there was no lighting in the kitchen on the first floor. On the second floor, I added the necessary items for cooking soups. Although I didn't like the green floor, it fit the design of the rooms on the third floor. Unlocked a new type of flooring and placed new tiles in the large hall on the first floor, but it didn't look very nice. However, I found a spot where I could use these tiles. Money was piling up and I didn't know where to spend it anymore. Even buying new tables didn't make much sense, since I already had 45,000 prestige and there wasn't much point in raising it further. Added a new researcher's table. Planned a visit from the prince, because it didn't make sense to invite the king and queen, as I still wouldn't gather 240 golden guests. I was close to finishing replacing all the tables and benches on the third floor. Replaced the carpets on the first floor with more suitable ones. After the prince's visit, visit, I earned over 22,000 coins, unlocked a white wall texture. I had been waiting for this wall paint for a long time, so I repainted almost the entire third floor, both inside and out, added a few more luxurious benches, planned another visit from the prince, repainted the walls in a room on the first floor in white. The brewery research finished. I wasn't quite sure what it was, but I figured I needed to place it somewhere, so I found a spot in the garden outside. I selected the drink that would be produced and hired the required worker. Unlocked a new type of flooring, but it didn't look very nice, so I decided not to place it in the tavern. Realized why no visitors were going to the tables on the balcony. Apparently, I had blocked the doorway. While I was figuring this out, a fire started. At the end of the day, I corrected my mistake. Also, finally replaced all the tables and benches in the tavern with luxurious versions. Remembered the brewery and saw it was full, but I still didn't know what to do next. I changed the drink from mead to beer and then forgot about it. Not knowing what to spend my money on, I bought several armor racks for the first floor. At the end of one of the days, there were many angry customers. They were upset again because their drinks hadn't been served. Added 4 more waiter positions and hired 4 new waitresses. Tried once more to host the king and queen, but by the end of the day, I still couldn't gather the required number of visitors. It's time to wrap things up with our tavern, as the game is offering less and less new content. While it's still possible to unlock the 4th floor, a basement, and even a restroom, reaching these goals would take a long time, and the days have become increasingly dull and repetitive. On the positive side, Tavern Master is a very engaging game. I thoroughly enjoyed watching my tavern grow and become more and more popular each day. So popular, in fact, that even the king and queen, along with their royal entourage, started visiting. Initially, the game is packed with content, but as time goes on, it becomes repetitive. So, let's move straight to the downsides. As I mentioned, the amount of content is somewhat limited. If the developers continue working on the game, I think it has great potential for improvement. This genre offers endless possibilities for new features, limited only by imagination. Another drawback is the repetitiveness of the tasks. The daily objectives are almost identical, with only the numbers increasing. For example, you may need to earn more money, host more visitors in a day, level up an employee, or complete a research project. This monotony quickly diminishes the desire to progress further. Regarding optimization, there's room for improvement. When I first invited a few dozen nights, my FPS dropped significantly. Later, when I had 3 floors, invited the king and queen with their entourage, and added rain to the mix, my FPS dropped almost 3-fold, even though my laptop is relatively powerful. On top of that, the game crashed on me several times, and I couldn't figure out why. In summary, I'd recommend giving this game a try. With its low price, Tavern Master offers around 15 hours of enjoyable gameplay. However, it still has room to grow and improve. That's it for now. Don't forget to subscribe and share which games and challenges you'd like to see next. Have a great day, everyone.